Welcome back to Native Speaker. Now we're going to look at how to build questions in a universal question template. This uses 7 simple steps, starting with a question word, subject 1, auxiliary or modal verb, subject 2, a verb phrase, object or adjective, and a complement. In this case, we're going to be looking at the present perfect, and all of these questions will be built in the present perfect. So how many rooms have you cleaned so far today? So if you're working in a hotel, for example, that's a question you might have been asked. Today has not finished, so the present perfect can be used here. And so far, this means up to this moment. So that's a very useful phrase. Another question in the present perfect, how often has he been to Sligo over the past year? How much money have you spent on shoes recently? And what jobs has Maria done so far today? So question words like how many, how often, and how much, they often use, how many and how much, they use a subject, as does what. Okay? How often doesn't use a subject here. So a lot of the question words you'll see will have an empty subject here. But how many, how much, and what, they are used in the subject part. Because it's have you, I have, you have, he has. So it's have you, has he, has Maria, because Maria is a she. So how many rooms have you cleaned so far today? How often has he been in Sligo over the past year? Over the past year, that means this year. So over the past year hasn't finished yet. How much money have you spent on shoes recently? Recently is an indefinite time frame, so we don't know when that was. And we don't know if it's finished. What jobs has Maria done so far today? Again, today hasn't finished. Let's look at some more. Where have they worked before this? So before this is again not an exact time frame, so it's good for the present perfect. Who has Tom met in Sligo this month? This month hasn't finished, so the present perfect can be used. Why have you stopped talking to Tom? Now this is an interesting one. Why have you stopped? If you want another verb after stopped, if you mean the sense stop in the sense of quit, not pause, then it'll be verb ing. So why have you stopped talking to Tom? That means you quit talking to Tom. How has he managed to get a promotion without experience? So after you use manage, you're going to need to plus infinitive. So he managed to get. So sometimes in the verb phrase you might have to use two verbs. The first verb, as you can see, will be past participle, but then the second verb, that will depend on what the original verb was. So when you use the verb stop in the sense of quit, then this must be ing. Manage uses to plus infinitive. By the way, a promotion means that you go higher up in your company. So you go from assistant manager to senior manager, for example. Which office have they given to Mike? So which office? Which means a selection of a limited number. So for example, there might be 3 offices in the building and they said which office, that means out of the 3, have they given to Mike. What kind of work has he done prior to working here? Prior to means before. So before and prior to have the same meaning. If you use a verb after prior to, it should be verb ing. So I didn't put it in the color coded because it's in the complement, but if you use a verb after prior to or before, it must be verb ing. Don't forget that. So what kind of work has he done prior to working here? Next one, which clients have you contacted about the new program? Again, you might have 40 clients and that's a limited number, so that's why we say which clients. Whose project? That means who does this belong to? Whose project has Maxine seen so far? Again, so far. We've had that twice now in this slide. So far means up to this moment. You could say so far today, but here I just put it in on its own so that you can see how it's used. So that's how you put together questions using the universal question template. Here we've decided to look at the present perfect only, and you can see it's very simple. Certain question words like how many, how much, what, which, what kind of, and whose, they need a subject right beside them. But other question words like where, who, why, how, they don't use a subject here. That's all from me. The very best of luck and I'll see you next time.